Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So the call finally happened. After weeks of speculation, Donald Trump and Xi Jinping spoke on the phone yesterday, their first direct contact since Trump won re-election, and the readouts that came out from both sides were fascinating, especially the one from Beijing because it was unusually long and unusually specific on Taiwan. Normally, Chinese readouts are pretty sparse and filled with diplomatic boilerplate, but this time, Xi basically delivered a mini lecture on why Taiwan is an unbreakable red line and why the United States needs to stop encouraging what Beijing calls separatist forces. And buried in there was something else, a line that many analysts believe was aimed straight at Japan and the woman who looks almost certain to become its next prime minister, Sanae Takaichi. So let's unpack this call step by step and figure out what it actually means for the next 4 years. First, the basics. The call lasted a little over an hour. It was Trump who initiated it, and both sides described it as candid and in-depth, which is diplo-speak for they disagreed on a lot but kept their voices down. The White House summary was short and upbeat. Trump emphasized tariffs, fentanyl, and TikTok, and said the two leaders agreed to keep communicating. Classic Trump. Focus on the deal points he cares about. The Chinese readout from Xinhua and the Foreign Ministry was 3 times longer and read like a position paper. Xi told Trump 3 main things about Taiwan. 1. Taiwan is China's internal affair, and the political foundation of U.S.-China relations is the One China principle and the 3 joint communiques. 2. The U.S. must genuinely oppose Taiwan independence, stop arming Taiwan, and stop sending the wrong signals to separatist forces. And 3, China hopes the U.S. will work with it to maintain peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. That's the public version. Sources familiar with the call say Xi was even blunter in private, reminding Trump that the Taiwan issue concerns China's core interests and that there is zero room for compromise. Now, why did Xi feel the need to be this explicit right now? A couple of reasons. First, Trump's incoming team is stacked with China hawks. Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor, Marco Rubio at State, Elbridge Colby and Alex Wong in key defense slots. These are people who have openly talked about preparing to fight and win a war over Taiwan. Second, the Democratic Progressive Party in Taipei just won another landslide in local elections last weekend, so President Lai Ching-te is feeling emboldened and Beijing is convinced he's slowly walking toward formal independence. And third, there's Japan. This is the part everyone is talking about today. Tucked into Xi's remarks was a line about hoping the U.S. will rein in external forces that interfere in Taiwan and harm China's sovereignty. That phrase, external forces, almost always means Japan in Chinese diplomatic language lately, especially now that Sanae Takaichi has surged ahead in the LDP leadership race. Takaichi is unapologetically hawkish on China. She's talked about Japan acquiring counter-strike capabilities explicitly aimed at Chinese missile sites. She's pushed for Japan to be part of any U.S.-led defense of Taiwan, and she's even floated the idea of nuclear sharing with the United States. From Beijing's perspective, a Takaichi administration would be the worst-case scenario next to Taiwan itself declaring independence. So many analysts believe Xi used this first call to send an early warning shot. If Trump gives Tokyo a green light to get more directly involved in Taiwan contingencies, Beijing will see that as the U.S. and its allies ganging up and will respond accordingly. Interestingly, Trump seems to have pushed back on Taiwan more than people expected. According to people briefed on the call, when Xi went into his Taiwan monologue, Trump reportedly said something like, "Look, I don't want war, nobody wants war, but Taiwan makes the best chips and we're not going to let you take them by force. And if you try, the economic consequences would be unbelievable." He then pivoted to a deal-making pitch, apparently floating the idea that if China stops military pressure on Taiwan and helps solve the fentanyl crisis, the U.S. could ease some technology restrictions, maybe even allow limited investment again in certain sectors. Xi didn't bite, at least not on the spot. But the fact that Trump framed Taiwan in transactional terms rather than pure ideology tells you a lot about how he's likely to approach this issue in a second term. He sees it as leverage, not just a moral crusade. So where does this leave us? Near term, this call actually lowers the risk of miscalculation. Both leaders now know exactly where the other stands, and Trump has signaled he wants to talk rather than just confront. That's why the Pentagon quietly postponed a couple of big transits through the Taiwan Strait that were scheduled for this month. Beijing noticed and appreciated the gesture. Longer term, though, the structural pressures haven't gone away. TSMC is racing to build fabs in Arizona, but the most advanced nodes are still in Taiwan, and Trump's team wants to bring even more home. That means the U.S. has to keep Taiwan out of China's hands for at least another decade, which means more arms sales, more military training, more integration into things like AUKUS Pillar 2. All of that will keep triggering Beijing. And if Takaichi does become Japan's prime minister next month, expect China to start sanctioning Japanese companies, squeezing rare earth exports again, and running more air and naval incursions near the Senkakus to send a message. Bottom line, yesterday's call was a reality check for both sides. She reminded Trump that Taiwan is not a bargaining chip, it's a core interest where China is willing to fight. Trump reminded Xi that America is not walking away from Taiwan and that the economic and military balance has shifted dramatically since 2016. They agreed to keep talking, and there's even loose talk of a Mar-a-Lago summit early next year, but make no mistake, the competition is only going to intensify. The fact that they're communicating directly is good, it buys time, but it doesn't resolve the fundamental clash. Taiwan remains the most dangerous flashpoint on Earth, and with Trump back in office and potentially Takaichi in Tokyo, 2025 is going to be a very tense year in Asia. If you found this breakdown helpful, drop a like, hit subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff. Let me know in the comments what you think Trump should do on Taiwan. Total decoupling, keep the status quo, or try some grand bargain. I read every single comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.